Kahalalim La Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who rule well, who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings unto the hopeful elect. Alright, I'm going to start off with Sirach 13, verse 25. It says, "The heart of a man changeth his countenance, whether it be for good or evil, and a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance." Now the word heart we know in Hebrew is lab, which means mind. So it means the mind of a man changes his countenance. Okay. Verse 26, "A cheerful countenance is a token of a heart or mind that is in prosperity, and the finding out of parables is a wearisome labor of the mind." And this lesson is going to deal with, it's going to be a health lesson inspired by the recent videos of the apostles and the elders. With a video that Apostle Tahar did about gut health and flora, okay, the gut flora and the probiotics. And then this is going to deal with the stress, and that this is why I read this scripture first, because your mind your mind, what stress does to the mind, it affects your whole body, right? So if you're continually stressed, now granted, the brotherhood, the men, for the most part, we're being worn out. We are worn out, right? As the book of Daniel, chapter 7, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, says they have worn out the saints of the Most High. So we're gonna be stressed anyway. But what I'm showing brothers is, sometimes brothers can afflict themselves to a degree that's very detrimental, that's very hurtful, and you should be self-conscious of that, because if it goes on chronically, then you can have serious problems. You can basically be giving yourself more hell. That can be a demon on you, and you're giving yourself more hell. And I'm going to explain that. But let's go to ncbi. This is a good website that it posts studies and whatnot. Okay. And it says the impact of stress on body function, a review. I'm going to read a little bit and jump through, because it's pretty dense. So you can read this yourself. You can type this title in and read it. It says, "Any intrinsic or extrinsic stimulus that evokes a biological response is known as stress. The compensatory responses to these stresses are known as stress responses based on the type, timing, and severity of the applied stimulus. Stress can exert various actions on the body, ranging from alterations in homeostasis, which is your body trying to maintain alkalinity, slight alkalinity, not a lot. It's around 7.4, 7.3, if I'm not mistaken. But that's homeostasis, and the majority of people, they don't supply enough alkaline-based foods or supplements. You can take herbs, right, into their system, and the body leaches, for example, calcium, which is very abundant, and and calcium is an alkaline mineral, and it'll leach that out of your bones, right? And that can cause problems. But anyway, it says, to life-threatening effects and death. See, so that's serious. It says, in many cases, the pathophysiological complications of disease arise from stress, right? And what that means is patho, you have a field of study called pathology in natural medicine, which it's basically the path of the disease, where it starts from, where it stems from, and where it branches out to, right? So pathophysiological just means the path of the disease in your body. That's all that means. All right, Esau always has his big words, man. It says, right? It says complications of disease arise from stress and the subjects exposed to stress. Example, those that work or live in stressful environments have a higher likelihood of many disorders, right? So down here, stress and the brain function. So this is the heart that we're talking about. I'm going to go down here. It says the effects of stress on the nervous system have been investigated for 50 years. Some studies have shown that stress has many effects on the human nervous system and can cause structural changes in different parts of the brain, which is your heart. So that this is time to take heed, because this is very serious, right? It says chronic stress can lead to atrophy. So you have something called muscle atrophy, deterioration of your muscles. So you can have deterioration of your brain via chronic stress. Chronic stress can lead to atrophy of the brain mass and decrease its weight. These structural changes bring about differences in the response to stress, cognition, and memory. It says, of course, the amount and intensity of the changes are different according to the stress level and the duration of the stress. This is why it's wise to be privy or aware, right? When you're going through something, are you messing yourself up more actually, or are you just taking it as it is? Because the scriptures say, take it cheerfully in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 2, right? So it says stress and memory. Memory is one of the important functional aspects of the central nervous system, or CNS, and it is categorized as sensory, short-term, and long-term. Short-term memory is dependent on the function of the frontal and parietal lobes, while long-term memory depends on the function of large areas of the brain. However, total function of memory and the conversion of short-term memory to long-term memory are dependent on the hippocampus, an area of the brain that has the highest density, is a big-ass word, of glucocorticosteroid receptors, and also represents the highest level of response to stress. Therefore, during the past several decades, 70 years, right? It's a long time. Esau studies everything. That's why it says, they are wiser than Daniel. It mentions that the children of this world in their generation are wiser than the children of light, right? So the past several decades, the relationship between the hippocampus and stress have been hotly debated, right? But going down, hold on one second. I was reading through this and I just wanted to pick apart some. All right, and here's important as well. I mean, stress also has negative effects on learning. Results from hippocampus-dependent loading data demonstrate that subjects are not as familiar with a new environment after having been exposed to a new environment. It says, moreover, adrenal steroids lead to alteration in long-term potentiation, which is an important process in memory formation. Two factors are involved in the memory process during stress. The first is noradrenaline, which creates emotional aspects of memories in the basolateral amygdala area. Secondly, this process is facilitated by corticosteroids. However, if the release of corticosteroids occurs a few hours earlier, it causes inhibition of the amygdala and corresponding behaviors. All right, now down here as well, stress, cognition, and learning, but I wanted to get stress and immune. This is, you can read this. Cardiovascular, right? It says the existence of a positive association between stress and cardiovascular disease has been verified. Stress, whether acute or chronic, has a deleterious, which that word just means harming, effect on the function of the cardiovascular system, your heart, blood pressure, blood circulation, okay, all these things. The effects of stress on the cardiovascular system are not only stimulatory, but also inhibitory in nature. Okay, so that's another important thing as you get older, man. So I just wanted to bring some information out on that. This part as well. Stress and gastrointestinal complications. The effect of stress on nutrition and the gastrointestinal system can be summarized with two aspects of GI functions. First, stress can affect appetite. This effect is related to involvement of either the ventral tegmental area. Down, and I'm going to read past that. It says, however, it should be noted that nutrition patterns have effects on the response to stress, and this suggests a bilateral interaction between nutrition and stress. So even your ability to absorb, right, nutrients from the food that you eat, it can be lowered, right? Your ability, it can be lowered if you're in a state of chronic stress. So check this. There are many studies concerning the effect of stress on the function of the GI system. For instance, studies have shown that stress affects the absorption process, intestinal permeability, mucus and stomach acid secretion, function of ion channels, and GI inflammation. And it says stress also increases the response of the GI system to inflammation and may reactivate previous inflammation and accelerate the inflammation process by secretion of mediators such as substance P. So chronic, look, if you're in a state of chronic stress, that means you're going to put your GI tract in a state of chronic inflammation, which can lead to what? Gastrointestinal stress, and ultimately, if unchecked, you can get a damn ulcer. You know, you basically burn a hole in your GI. So all this just to show you. Now I'm going to go to the herbs. Now we got to have the answers to the Most High, but let me get another scripture. I had another one loaded up. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus 30 and 15. It says, health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. All right, because, you know, majority of people, they spend their time in their, you know, they spend their health trying to accumulate the wealth, right? In their younger years. And then when they get the wealth, a lot of times they don't got their health, and they got to use that wealth to try to get back their health. But that's a whole different story. So that's what that means. There's verse 16, there is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart, of the mind. Death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. Now I'm going to go down to verse 21. This is the point I made in the beginning of the video. It says, give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thine own counsel. See that? So you might have your own like a counsel, right? You're musing, or you're meditating on things, and you're just constantly striking yourself in your mind. You're plaguing yourself, really. See? So you got to be wary of that. Okay? Verse 22, the gladness of the mind is the life of man, and the joyfulness of a man prolongeth his days. Love thine own soul, and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee. Now, again, granted, we're going through a purge. We're going through a lot of stressful things, and we're going to get even more stressful. But this is just one small aspect where you can tweak certain things, man. Because I've been in that state of depression, and just, you know, bringing heaviness to your own mind, to your own spirit. It's not a good place to be, right? It's not like I'm not going through hell, right? But when you're going through certain things, and then you add a heaviness when you're already heavy, right? That's just double the weight for what? Okay, it says, for sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein. Envy and wrath shorten the life, and carefulness bringeth age before the time. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. Right? So if you're in the right state of mind, you have care for your meat and diet, your whole way, really, of life. Right? Now let's get another scripture just to nail that point. This is Ecclesiasticus 38 and 16. It says, "My son, let tears fall down over the dead, and begin to lament as if thou hadst suffered great harm thyself. And then cover his body according to the custom, and neglect not his burial. Weep bitterly, and make great moan, and use lamentation as he is worthy. And that a day or two, lest thou be evil spoken of. And then comfort thyself for thy heaviness," because that's trauma. You know? That's a lot of trauma. So you got to comfort yourself after. For verse 18, "For of heaviness cometh death." Now let's say you stay in that state. You can bring death to yourself, right? You can die. "And the heaviness of the heart breaketh strength. In affliction also sorrow remaineth. And the life of the poor is the curse of the heart." Verse 20, "Take no heaviness to heart," to your mind, right? Drive it away, and remember the last end. Okay? So now we're going to get some herbs. The type of herbs you want to be consuming on a regular, they're known as adaptogen or adaptogenic herbs, which it's here. This is from the website wayofleaf.com. It says, "Humans have used adaptogenic herbs for thousands of years. Many of them overlap with ancient healing systems such as Indian Ayurveda and traditional East Asian medicine. However, the term adaptogen is relatively new. A Soviet scientist named Lazarev first proposed it in 1940 while studying the properties of Schisandra. It says, "At that time, there was great interest in adaptogenic herbs throughout the USSR. Researchers initially focused on these herbs' ability to combat stress and relieve fatigue. They believed they could potentially benefit pilots and submarine crews engaged in World War II." Now, that's a hell of a lot of stress. So these guys were researching herbs to go, for soldiers in war. So you got to pay attention, right? Because these things really work. Now, you can read all these different things, what these herbs do, but to sum it up, adaptogens is, as the word, hints, an adaptogenic herb, it helps you adapt to what? To stress, right? As you see here, adaptogens primarily assist the body in coping with physical, chemical, and biological stress. They appear to do this by promoting a state of internal balance known as homeostasis. What did we read about in the stress article? Stress can affect your state of homeostasis in your body. They may also help cells to preempt environmental changes and act accordingly, a process known as allostasis or allostasis. As well as supporting homeostasis and allostasis, specific adaptogens have various other unique effects and outcomes. Some of the most common adaptogenic herb benefits include protecting the nervous system from damage, stimulating the nervous system, reducing fatigue. So if you brothers feel a lot of these things, which I know I have, and that doesn't mean I don't feel these things, but I know what it's like to be without the herbs, and it's 10 times worse. And call halalim la Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rachakodash, for putting the spirit on the apostles and those men getting us into these things, because that's how I got into these things, because the Apostle Tahar, went into different green smoothies and herbs and chlorophyll, all these different topics. So I started researching, and then I just got into the whole field of herbs, and now I make these things. I do different things through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right? And it has helped me and others that I'm close to. So, as the scriptures say, the Most High hath made medicines out of the earth. He that is a fool will abhor them. So look at these herbs, and I've pretty much taken all of these at one time or another, and there's some I'm taking now. I'm gonna recommend them right now, and this is like the top among this list, right? We read the first one, Schisandra. That stands out, even though that's at the bottom. I would always take Schisandra. I'm taking it now. Actually, I just made a decoction of it, which is basically a low simmering of a herb, and then you strain it and add either honey or glycerin to preserve it. You can drink it because it's strong, right? So you don't drink a lot every day. But Schisandra, when you deal with the Chinese medicine or TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, Schisandra is known to work on all 5 main body systems or organs, which I believe in their system it's the 5 main ones is your heart, lungs, kidney, liver, and I'm not sure if it's the spleen or the gallbladder. I forget, but obviously the 5 main ones is clear, right? You have your lungs, your heart, and your kidney, and your liver, and then the 5th one. But it works on all of that, and it's a great adaptogenic herb. There's many benefits. You brothers can look up Schisandra berry. So that's one that I would 100% recommend for stress, for health, for memory boost, for even your eyes. This herb here, Eleuthero, which is known as Siberian ginseng, 110% recommend. I've been using that for years. Very good. That's the herb that's been studied by Esau in Russia for the soldiers, and that's a very good herb for athletes to take. It works on your cognitive function, your memory, your endurance. Obviously, adapting to stress. Ashwagandha is amazing. That's known as the Indian ginseng. Also, I've used that for years. It's very good. So you can take these in combinations. You can hopefully find a tincture combination formula. If you're skilled enough or you research enough, you can make it on your own, like I did. All right, you can just research these things, and what I mean by skilled is you gotta get into this and you gotta research it, because you don't just take herbs. Like, you don't just, this is good. What's the dosage? I don't know. I just take it. You need to know dosage. You need to know ratio. That's what I just mean by that. But it's not that hard to make your first formula of 3, 4, or maybe 5 herbs. But I would recommend ashwagandha, Siberian or Eleuthero, Schisandra, rhodiola I've used. It's very also powerful, very good. Astragalus, like I said, pretty much all these herbs are amazing. Maca I've used, it's very popular. But I just mean for that fire that brothers have. Brothers have a lot of inflammation. American ginseng is amazing for that. It's a very cooling herb. So use these things. This is medicine. This is medicine, man. These are things that will help you feel right and push this ministry and do what you got to do in the world for your work, and just trying to get through this damn labyrinth, man. Everything's done through the spirit, but these things will help. These things will aid. So hope you're edified. Kahalalim la Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles of GMS, Huruwal, and salutations and blessings to the hopeful elect.